Doing a new little segment here on the channel, which is covering some interesting paleontological news when it happens. Today we'll be talking about Bicharracosaurus Dionidae. I'm gonna just preface immediately. Don't trust my pronunciations on anything ever. Don't believe my lies. Um, yeah, I'm completely guessing on pronunciation, both for the animal itself, any formations you see. Just don't trust any pronunciations that I do. So yeah, this is gonna be like a brief little video. We'll do these kind of whenever something interesting happens. This is the animal here we're talking about. So the name Bicaracosaurus, I think I said it differently that time, is derived from an informal term for a big animal. So this is big animal lizard, which is very funny. I appreciate that. We're looking at a sauropod here that's probably somewhere in the ballpark of about 15 meters long, 20 tons. Not the biggest guy ever, but not a little fella either. And the very interesting thing about this guy is he's from the late Jurassic, roughly 157 million years ago. And this is relatively special because these guys are not very common in South America. That is to say, sauropods from the late Jurassic are not very common in South America. Usually, when you're thinking about sauropods from South America, you're thinking about like titanosaurs, right? Dreadnoughtus, Patagotitan, Argentinosaurus, all these like very famous, very large Cretaceous titanosaurs. And this is not that. This guy was discovered in Argentina at the Canadon Calcario Formation. Uh, and the time frame of like the discovery is actually kind of interesting too, because it serves as a really good highlight on like the turnaround sometimes in some of these paleontological discoveries. These bones were found in 2001. They were identified or discovered in 2001 by, I believe, a farmer, and then expeditions began in 2002 and concluded in 2011. And then in 2018, additional vertebrae were found. And it wasn't described until 2026. So this gets you the sense of like very quick turnaround to start excavating a fossil, but finishing excavations can take quite a long time. And even when a fossil is fully excavated, actually doing the research on the animal, getting the paper written up, that is all time consuming. That takes a long time sometimes. Now, this guy's phylogeny is pretty interesting. The fossils have traits that are similar to both Diplodocids and Macronarians, specifically Brachiosaurids. And these are kind of disparate groups of sauropods. You might be very familiar with these two groups if you're looking at like North American, like Morrison fauna, late Jurassic stuff. You got, of course, Diplodocus and Brachiosaurus as the two like namesakes, right? And they have very different like shapes to them, right? Diplo is low and long. Brachiosaurus has that big, upward arcing neck. And they've generally not really had much anatomical overlap when it comes to the finer points. But this guy kind of breaks that a little bit. This guy kind of looks like both, which is very interesting. The phylogenetic analysis does end up favoring Brachiosaurids, which would make this the first ever South American Brachiosaurid, which is pretty neat. And yeah, so this guy just kind of becomes interesting because it throws into question a little bit how distant or how close the relationship actually is between Diplodocids and Brachiosaurids, and it kind of gives us a peek into what kind of sauropods might have been roaming South America during the late Jurassic, which we haven't had much of a window into previously.